Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do my May wrap up. I read, I think, 6 books in the month of May. I did okay with my TBR. I read 3 books on my TBR, kind of DNF'd one, and didn't get to the other 2. Let's get into it. So I'll just start with the one that I kind of DNF'd, which was City of Gods and Monsters. I'm not counting it as a DNF just because I didn't actually read much of it. Like I started it and it was reminding me way too much of Crescent City, which I read that it did kind of remind people of Crescent City, but I just don't want to read a series that long with books that long for it to be almost just like one that I've already read. So I decided against reading that book. I'm not going to read that series. If I want to read Crescent City again, I will read Crescent City. So I started the month out with Direbound by Sable Sorensen, and I loved this book. Loved this book. It was 5 stars. Okay, in Direbound, you're following Marin, whose sister gets kidnapped, kind of in the beginning of the book. And she decides to join basically their military to go to the front lines where she thinks her kidnappers took her. So she joins the military and she quickly learns that it's a bonding year, which means the new recruits have to attempt to bond a dire wolf. And so she has to go climb the mountain, try to bond a dire wolf, and once she does that, then she goes to their military college. I haven't loved a fantasy book like this since I read Quicksilver last year, and Quicksilver is like one of my god tier fantasy books. I think this book deserves way more hype than it's getting. It was so hard to put down. The pacing was perfect. I never got bored. It was always like building up to another plot twist or another reveal. The ending was like a throat punch to me. I was unhinged like the last 100 pages of this book. I cannot recommend this series enough. I recently found out that the second book is supposed to come out next year in March. It got traditionally published, which good for the author, but I'm sad because the second book was supposed to come out in July, and now that it's traditionally published, it's not. It's coming out in March of 2026, and I am very, very sad. But I will live, I guess. Then I read Scorpion and the Night Blossom. I don't have a whole lot to say about this book. I gave it 3 stars. It was entertaining, but that was about it. I just kept feeling like I didn't care what was happening in the plot, and I didn't care what was happening to the characters. You're following An Lee, and her mother only has half a soul. A demon ate half of it. So she goes to compete in the immortality trials to win an immortality pill to give to her mother to replenish the rest of her soul. The concept sounds right up my alley. It sounds great. I just feel like the author could have done a better job. Like I said, it was entertaining. It wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't great. So I won't be continuing. I think it's a duology. I don't plan on reading the next book, unfortunately. But it is a fairy loot book, so it's pretty on my shelf. So that's a win. Then I continued the Brutal Birthright series and read Bloody Heart by Sophie Lark. There's not a lot I can say about this because it is the 4th book in the series, but this is Simone and Dante's book. It is a second chance romance, mafia romance, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Second chance romances aren't typically for me. I think I enjoyed it mostly because it's the 4th book in the series, and I already really love the characters, and I love the other characters that you get glimpses of because I've already read about them. But yeah, I really like it. The series as a whole, I recommend. Then I read possibly my favorite book of the year so far, My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I love his writing. He is my favorite author. In My Friends, you're following Louisa, who somehow gets possession of a very famous painting. She is very unique, loud character. I loved her. I loved her personality. I loved her vibe. It was just, she was so funny. She had me laughing so much. But you also get the story behind the painting. So in the painting, it's a picture of like a pier, and there's these kids on the pier, and you get the story of the kids in the painting. And that's where Ted comes in. Ted is in the painting, and he tells the story basically to Louisa of how the painting became to be. And it was just a beautiful story. I was laughing one second and crying the next. Frederick Bachman just has a way of telling a story that is so unique and heartwarming, and the characters are so outlandish, but also so relatable. I don't know, man. I don't know what he puts in these books, but I will read his grocery list if he was to publish it. Whatever the man writes, I'm going to read. I am slowly working on reading his backlist, but 5,000 stars. I loved this book so much. Now, if you're on TikTok, on Book Talk, you have seen this book. This actually was one of my book of the month choices. So was My Friends, but I skipped my book of the month because I didn't really see anything that I thought I would really like, so I skipped it. And then this book came out of freaking nowhere on TikTok. So I unskipped book of the month to get this book and read it. And I was kind of let down. I gave it 3 stars. It was so hard for me to finish. I ended up having to download the audiobook just to finish it. I watched TikToks after I finished it of people like comparing it kind of to Divergent and the Hunger Games. And personally, I think the publishing company did it dirty by saying that it was going to be like that. And I think they said it to get people who don't read as much as like I read, or like the Book Talk community reads, like casual readers, to get them to read it by comparing it to books that they probably really liked before. To me, this was not really a dystopian. It kind of had a dystopian feel to it, but it was a romance set in a dystopian kind of world, if that makes sense. It was kind of entertaining. I really liked the concept of it. I just feel like it wasn't done very well. The main character, Rin, she got on my last nerve. She was complaining on one page about something, can't say. And then pretty much on the next page doing the very thing that results in what she was complaining about. And I was just over it by the end of it. I was like, get a grip, really. And I just feel like the romance was lackluster and the plot was anticlimactic and predictable. So I just did not really like it. I probably will not finish the series, if it's a series or duology, I don't know. Probably won't. Yeah. Then I ended the month with another 5-star, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is her newest book. It was amazing. I will say this book does read more like a general fiction with like a hint of romance than it does a romance book. And I had seen people saying that, so I went in expecting that, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. I really loved like getting the glimpses of Margaret's story. The mystery aspect of it made it very hard to put down. I actually read this book in a day because I didn't want to stop reading. I wanted to know what happened. And Alice and Hayden's relationship, the way it grew throughout the story, I just really enjoyed that. I love reading about writers. I don't know what it is, but a romance about 2 writers is just one of my faves. I'm going to slowly make my way through Emily Henry's books this year too. I think I have like 3 left and I cannot wait to read them. So those are the books that I read in May. I did not finish my TBR, but I think I did pretty well. After I finished Great Big Beautiful Life, I got in a big book slump, and I think it was because I read Silver Elite and didn't really like it, and then I binged Great Big Beautiful Life, and then after that I just did not want to read. So I didn't read the rest of the month. Like, I finished Great Big Beautiful Life, I don't know, like in the 3rd week of the month, and I just did not feel like reading. It sucked, but it's fine. Sometimes it happens. So anyway, that's what I read in May. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!